The purpose of the Building and Codes Department is to ensure the health and safety of Murfreesboro residents through the consistent application of adopted building codes, inspections of new and renovated structures, and property maintenance standards. The department oversees all residential and commercial construction, beginning with the review of plans through on-site inspections and to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the safe use and habitation of the structure. The department is also charged with the enforcement of the city's sign ordinance. The Director of Building and Codes is Gary Whitaker.
We have approximately 23 people in our office. We enforce building codes, perform inspections on a daily basis. We issue permits, building permits for new construction, remodel, buildings, sign permits. We also perform property maintenance inspections throughout the city. And we also work closely with other departments, the planning department, the fire department, engineering, street and sign, in performing our duties. Well, building codes have been around for actually thousands of years, and unfortunately, building codes have evolved. And when I say unfortunately, it's because between the 1800s and 1900s, 11 major cities were devastated with fire, and countless loss of lives, as well as millions of dollars of property damage. And throughout those fires, codes were established to try to prevent those and to actually what we have today, our modern codes that we have today. So unfortunately, through catastrophic events, codes have been written and established to provide that safety and to try to prevent those fires and those catastrophic events that have happened over the years. And that's kind of what we have, why we have codes today and how they've evolved. For instance, it hadn't been that long ago that smoke detectors, 30 years ago, were not required in homes. As we all know today, smoke detectors are early detection to get people out. Additionally, there were no egress windows required from bedrooms. That serves two purposes. In a fire situation in your home, the fire department can actually get in for rescue, or the occupant can get out of the house in a fire. So as you can see, in just the last 30 years, we have seen a significant change in the life safety of our own residents in our homes, not to mention our commercial buildings, high-rise buildings. In the city of Murfreesboro alone, we have a number of multi-story buildings, and those fire codes are needed so that you can get out of the second floors of buildings. Nightclubs, which are places of large assembly. It's imperative we have those codes to make sure there's adequate egress doors, and unfortunately it hadn't been that long ago that there were several major fires in nightclubs and loss of lives. So we enforce those codes. When you walk in a building, most people feel comfortable that that building has the adequate egress, the fire protection, and all those things are in there. And that's part of what we do. And it's got to be done during the construction phase of that building. It's difficult to come back and put it in later. So when we issue permits on buildings, we have already looked at the plans. We've worked with the architects on designs. We've looked to make sure that the building complies with the type of use. And then during that process, we inspect it to ensure that not only the structure is constructed properly, but to make sure, like I said, that all those fire safety devices have been in, as well as the egress doors and any type of rated walls or life safety devices that need to be installed are there. Before all that goes into play, before we ever issue a certificate of occupancy to occupy that building. In the Building Codes Department, we have inspectors, and our inspectors have to be certified to do their job. They have to have, actually the state law requires that they have certifications, and those certifications are actually tests that they have to take and pass to get certified to conduct commercial building inspections, residential building inspections, commercial plumbing inspections, residential plumbing inspections, commercial mechanical inspections, and residential mechanical inspections. And in those mechanical inspections include gas appliances, venting as well. And so there's a total of 6 certifications if you're going to work for the City of Murfreesboro that you have to hold to be able to perform your duties. And every 3 years you have to accumulate or have 36 hours of continuing education to keep those certifications. So once you get certified, you have to continue going to school to keep your certifications up. And those are state laws, mandates that require us to do that, which means that we have professionals out here doing those jobs. We have support staff in the office that issue permits that don't go out and inspect. And they have to have a wealth of knowledge to issue that permit. There's a lot of things that are involved in that. And this is where we tie into the other departments. We have to know that the setbacks that the planning department has established get on the permit, so the builder developer knows where on that property the building can be located. Also, we have to ensure that the water and sewer department has been contacted, that there's adequate water and sewer for that development, as well as electric. So all these things come into play and have to be approved and have been thought about on the front end way before that the permit is ever issued. There's a lot of things that are working in the background that most people don't see or know of in that process. We also issue sign permits. And we regulate the signs that you see around town, whether they're temporary signs, permanent signs. We regulate the size, the number, and we do issue permits, sign permits for those. Temporary signs are an ongoing issue that we have to deal with. You're not allowed to place temporary signs on telephone poles or in public right-of-way. You can put them on private property. You can have up to 3 temporary signs per lot. Not more than 3, and that is a problem, and we're consistently having to pick those up. And we ask you, if you're going to put out temporary signs, which you're allowed to do, again, there's 3 per lot that are allowed, and we hope that and that is mostly self-regulated by the property owners. Now, when somebody unfortunately goes out and puts out too many, we stop in and try to remind them of our ordinance and ask them to come into compliance. Now, if signs are actually put out in the public right-of-way, we will confiscate those and take them. And they do have an option to purchase those back, and they can contact our office. If you think a sign's been put in the right-of-way and been confiscated, you can contact our office, and we'll be happy to look and see if we've got it. And if we do, you can purchase them back. And we keep those for 30 days. After 30 days, we do dispose of them. When we issue a building permit, there's naturally a fee associated with that. And I'd like to talk a little bit about what that fee actually covers. For construction, our department should not be a burden on the taxpayers. We try to ensure that that new construction, remodels, and all those things that we issue permits, whether it's a pool permit, fence permit, that we go out and look at, those fees are to cover our cost, part of the administrative cost as well as our salaries. And our hopes are that basically we are not a burden on the taxpayers, that we are self-funded, and that those fees actually offset what we do. There is a part of our department that is not tied in so much with the permitting, and that's property maintenance. The property maintenance side of our department deals with tall weeds and grass, open storage, abandoned vehicles, inoperable vehicles. Those are the things that we do that are really not permit driven. As our city grows, unfortunately, we do have areas of the city or we have people that don't unfortunately maintain their property the way they should. And therefore, we have to send them a letter and tell them to mow their grass, or if they have an inoperable vehicle, they have to get it license tagged or remove it from the site. Or if their house has fallen in disrepair, we will send them a repair notice on that. We are required by state law to adopt new codes every so often. If you'd like to see that list of adoptions, you can go to our website, go to the City of Murfreesboro website and click on Building Codes. There's a list of our currently new adopted codes and the effective date of those. And if you'd like to view those, you can more than welcome come in our office on 111 West Vine Street, come to the Building Codes Department. We have those available to look at as far as the new code books. Now also what you can find on the web would be the adopting ordinance that the legal department has helped us with, as well as any addendums to those codes. And again, we have to do that to stay in compliance with state law. At the end of this year, in fact, if we did not adopt new residential codes, we would have been out of compliance with state regulations. One of the things that I didn't touch on that we are responsible for as well is when we do have a catastrophic event. Unfortunately, when the tornado came through, we had in excess of 500 houses that were damaged, and the role that we played in that was we had to assess every structure, commercial and residential, and to ensure that it was okay for the electric department to turn the electricity back on. It was okay to get the gas back on, the heat, and our primary goal was to try to get people back in their residence as quickly as possible so that they weren't displaced and ensure that the houses were safe. We had everything from just shingles blown off to complete devastation where the structures were gone. It was imperative that we work as quickly as we could, and we did pretty much around the clock to try to get people back in their homes and get their power back on and ensure that their houses were safe. And it's not just for a tornado, I mean the floods. Part of what we do is ensure that the houses are built to the right as far as elevations, to ensure they don't flood. And we have to comply with FEMA regulations. FEMA sets those minimum elevations for us, and then we have to ensure when that house is built, and that's just another thing that we have to check off to ensure that it meets those minimum highs so that flooding is not an issue. So we do play a role in also damage assessments, if you will, when there is a catastrophic an event that happens in our city. One significant step that we've made in the last year or so is we're taking credit cards now, which has helped out. We've got a lot of positive feedback from that. In the future, we hope to look into actually making field inspections through some type of iPad or handheld devices. Now we have actually, for damage assessments, if we have unfortunately some catastrophic event like we had the tornado a few years ago, we had to do that all by paper when we assessed them. Now on our iPhones we have a damage assessment, so we can actually do those in the field. Our hopes are in the future to kind of get our inspections on that same handheld device. So it'd be more of a real-time type of inspection. Instead of having to wait to the end of the day to get that results back, it would actually happen in the field. So when the inspector makes that inspection, it would actually go into our system real-time. We have, in my opinion, I have one of the best staffed departments in the city. I'm sure other department heads will probably agree that they do, but we crank out a tremendous amount of work, and our work fluctuates naturally with the economy, but and fortunately for the last 3 years we have experienced a consistent increase in our permits issuance and our inspections, and our staffing has not went up in the last 3 years, which means is everybody takes on more and more responsibilities and more inspections. And in my opinion, I think I've got a great staff that we work together and work with, and they do a great job.
If you have any questions, please give the Building and Codes Department a call at 615-893-3750.